It was.
Okay.
Sorry.
We good in the back?
Oh, that was first.
It was
No, it was
mine.
last.
Good on the right? Good on the left? All right, it's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call to order the Thursday, May 15th, regular College Township Council meeting. Actually, it's the only meeting we have tonight, so it's just our College Township Council meeting, no public hearings. Before I get into the agenda, I'm going to ask everyone who can stand, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Actually, before we get into the agenda, I want to announce that this body, College Township Council, recessed in the midst of our work session last night into executive session to discuss a real estate matter, which is a permitted topic under Pennsylvania Sunshine Law. So that was yesterday during our work session. So first item on the agenda is public open discussions, an opportunity for anybody online or in the room to address council on something that's not already on tonight's agenda. Okay. Looks like we don't have any public open discussion. New agenda items. First off, anybody in council like to request a new agenda item? Rich, no? Tracy? Public? Opportunity to request a new agenda item, not necessarily for tonight, but... All right. That concludes new agenda items, and that takes us to special presentations. Tonight we have two special presentations. The first one is the Catalocal match. Before I start that presentation, though, the chair would like to note that there'll be a minor adjustment in the agenda tonight. Immediately preceding this first special presentation, council will take up the agenda item consent agenda. That's the entire consent agenda. We'll move to that, and then we'll go to the second special presentation. Okay. Consent agenda is pretty light, so. All right. Whose PowerPoint is that? Is that Dave's? Is he going to narrate it? Are we going to have a staff introduction, or?
This is all Dave's show.
Come on.
All right, Dave. You'll have to introduce yourself to
Thank you.
the world.
Chair, ladies and gentlemen, Dave Rischel. I'm a CEO and Executive Director at CATA, and thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you tonight. Excuse me, wanted to give you a little update on what's been going on at CATA over the past year, and give you a chance to ask us any questions before we ask you for your annual match contribution. Next slide, please. So this is a general pie chart budget breakdown. I won't read every single item in it, but the top line figure is that our budget for the coming year, and this is July 1st to June 30th, is about $29,000, just to $29 million.
I like the first one
there. $29 million, and that's up over last year. Now, keep in mind that our budgets are highly optimistic. We will hire everybody and do everything we love to do. The last several years, that has not been the case. This year, we're budgeting for and assuming a maximum of 115 bus operators. We're currently just over 100. So it's a little bit optimistic, but we'd like to be able to reach this if we can. Just like previous years, the kind of ratio of the numbers has not really changed that much. Just over 60% of our budget is state and federal subsidies. A few other key things, the local match contribution from all the municipalities and Penn State is just over $900,000. And our fare box revenue, about $1.8 million, and then revenue from contracts, including our contract with Penn State, is just under $6 million. To give you some specifics about our Penn State contributions this year, looks like Penn State's, we're still finishing our negotiation with Penn State. Looks like they're going to be contributing about $2.8 million. This is in in addition to their local match. And they're also going to pay us about $700,000 for their employee and student ride pass program. So, and I bring that up because I've gotten feedback in previous years that some people were under the impression the only thing that Penn State contributes is their local match, which is not at all true. We have a contract with them because the 3 routes that we operate that predominantly serve the campus operate what we call open door, which is fare-free. And even though anyone can ride them, they're primarily campus-oriented passengers. And because we don't collect a fare on those, Penn State pays us a subsidy. Kind of the simple explanation for that. Yeah, that's about it for this. Next slide, please. A few highlights of our budget this year. One of the things that we are going to be pursuing in the coming year is, for the first time since 2020, we're going to propose a fare increase. Our current fare is $2.20 at the door cash. We're going to up that to $2.50. That is still in line with fares around the state. Between 2020 and now, it's been almost 22% inflation rate, kind of the erosion of the dollar. This increase is 14%, so it actually doesn't even keep up with inflation. But we were really waiting until our service had pretty much recovered from COVID, which it has this year. So we thought it was appropriate now to consider a fare increase. This will apply to our fixed route buses, the big buses, excuse me, and our Cata-Go services. It does not apply to the Cata-Ride paratransit services. That's a different fare increase protocol, and we did that 2 years ago, so we're not due for a fare increase there yet. Our ridership, really great news about our ridership overall. 3.5% increase system-wide. As I said, we'll break about 5 million trips this year, which is the first time we've hit that number since pre-COVID, which is wonderful. And as much as we're happy with 3.5%, that really dilutes some of our other successes. We've made, you may recall last year, we made quite a number of changes to our route network, really beefed up services on some of our really busy corridors, and that's paid off considerably. Our Wapelani Drive and Atherton corridor is up by 16% since last year. Martin Street over in Patton Township, that's up by 10%. And we've been really happy with our Atherton and frankly our college connectors as well. Those have been routes that hadn't performed very well. The Atherton connector in particular is up 25% from last year. So some of those changes that we made really have paid off. And one of the other indicators we don't have up here, but it's one we've been monitoring, is kind of passenger feedback, passenger complaints. Those are down by half this year. One of the things that we discovered with our new approach, rather than responding by sending out buses whenever we got reports that buses were full, and instead planning that ahead of time, putting that all on the schedule, people could see it on the apps. So if they missed the bus, they weren't panicking because they knew there was going to be another bus in 10 minutes. And the passengers just love that. It's really, really helpful, passenger relations. Excuse me. A few other budgeting highlights. Both our apartment complex and our Penn State contracts are up 6% over last year. We negotiated those increases, and that helps our bottom line. So we have introduced 2 new trial summer routes. Excuse me. One of these is a preview for a route that we may continue. Actually, go to the next slide, please. So the first of these is what we're calling the UP route, the University Parkway route. Excuse me, sorry, allergies. This route starts out on College Avenue, goes to Atherton, goes out to Westerly Parkway to the high school, and then over to Wapelani Drive, down Wapelani to Easterly Parkway, down to University Drive, and then up onto campus, and then back around to college. This serves the Social Security office, which is a destination we haven't served with our bus system for some time. And in addition to it being a summer route, both from College Township and from the borough, we've heard for a long time, this is an area where we didn't have any bus service. So if this is successful, and if we have the personnel to do it, we'd like to continue this route into the fall and make it a permanent service. I'm not committing to that yet. We have some serious operational questions about bus maneuvering down around the high school at certain times of day, and some other issues with making some turns. So this is a bit of an experiment to see how well the service works. Excuse me. But we already have ridership on this. It started running on Monday, and it will run through the end of August. Next slide, please. A second change that we've made is that we are running what we call the Happy Valley route, the HV. It's a combination of the H and the V route. And it starts on the campus, goes out to Toft Trees, back over into Patton Township, and kind of takes over where the V route is, and then down Atherton back onto campus. It adds some late night services that has been requested by all the communities. And the dotted lines you'll see there, those are Sunday services where we don't currently have service. We ran a little bit of a version of this last year. It was very popular, so we brought it back again for this summer. Next slide, please. Another thing that we've kicked off on Monday, starting this year, is we have a youth summer pass program. It's normally $36, I think? 26. Excuse me. For this year, it's free. We are piloting it. We thought anything we can do to get young people to use transit and encourage them to use it and to use these summer routes, we wanted to do that. The revenue hit to us was not going to be that much. This is not a program that sells thousands of passes, so we thought it was something we certainly could absorb in the interest of community service, and if we can get these folks to continue riding, it's a win. And we've already sold, or I guess given away 25 passes since Monday, so it's off to a good start. Next slide, please. Something that will be of interest to you folks, we did a little trial last year of expanding our microtransit Cat-A-Go service into some areas, and here we did Hauserville last year. We're going to, over the coming year, essentially expand Cat-A-Go to the entire center region. The area in the middle of the map there that doesn't have any shading, that's the area that's currently served by our fixed route buses. So you have access to our traditional services there. If you're outside of those areas, you'll have access to Cat-A-Go. And we're going to be phasing this in throughout the year. The only caveat that I'll offer is it's a bit of an experiment. You don't know what kind of ridership you're going to get, so it's a little unpredictable, but we think we have the fleet resources to be able to do this. And as a reminder, you get free transfers to the fixed route system, so you can pretty much go anywhere for the same fare in the region in one trip. So this is really a huge service expansion that we're able to offer, so that I think for the first time, anyone who lives in the center region has access to Cat. Next slide, please. A few other updates. We probably, we implemented a new software product to manage our Cat-A-Go service last year, and we've continued to refine it this year, and we've been very happy with the performance. We did just under 3,000 trips on Cat-A-Go last year, and that number is significantly increasing this year. We really have been able to meet virtually all the demand for the service. Almost 98% of the people who requested trips got the trip whenever they wanted, and our on-time performance has been 97 to 99%. And we use the same kind of a rating that Uber or Lyft uses, and we get 4.9 out of 5 stars. So we're pretty happy, and our customers seem very happy with the service. The only complaint that we get consistently from new riders is they often expect this to act like an Uber service, and it's a shared ride service. So sometimes people get a little miffed whenever we don't take them directly to where they want to go, but we stop and pick somebody else on the way. But there's just kind of a learning curve to that. Our answer is this is public transit, it's shared service, and that's why you're paying $2.20 and not $18. So most passengers understand that. You probably are also aware, or if you're not, we've received notification from Bellefonte that they are definitely leaving the CATA system. They're going to be making arrangements with Center County to provide on-demand transportation for Bellefonte residents. The arrangements of that are still being worked out, and we've actually talked with the county as well because we know that there are residents in the center region who travel to Bellefonte for county business. So we're exploring a number of different options right now. It'll probably be a combination of services we provide and services that the county will do for us, and then we'll pay them a fee. And I can talk more about this if anybody has any questions. But as of June 30th, these services will end. And we really didn't get any communication from Benner Township. They're the other township we were serving. They notified us last year that they were leaving the system, and although we talked to Bellefonte throughout the year to try to figure out a way to keep them into the system, we didn't hear from Benner Township, so their services are ending as well. Next slide, please. And a few other just highlights of our past year. We turned 50 this year. And we've had a number of different celebrations. In fact, next Wednesday, Tuesday, way back there was a photo taken up at the stadium of some of the original CATA folks around some of our buses. We're going to recreate that photo. We've had a couple of anniversary events. You may have seen one of our old coaches, we call bus number 1, an old General Motors coach. That's been restored. We're using that in parades. We've really had great reception from the community for our anniversary stuff this year. We're also implementing a new fare system. Our fare boxes on our buses are 20, 30 years old. We're having trouble getting parts for them. So we're going to be replacing them with a contactless system that uses a visual scanner, and you can use printed fare media, you can use cards, you can still pay with cash, and you can also use your smartphone to pay. And by September or October, depending on who to believe from the vendor, you're going to be able to use credit cards as well. So this will be phased in, and we'll start using this new system in August. And as I said, by mid-fall, you'll be able to also pay with credit cards. We're going to be phasing out our tokens. If people still have tokens, they can use them. We're not eliminating cash, but we're going to kind of monitor how much cash has continued to be used over the next couple of years, and we'll see what decision to make on that. We negotiated a new contract with our employees this past year, and that went very well. Our expansion of the Apartment Pass program over the past year really generated a lot of new rides. Our Apartment Pass program used to be oriented toward a single route or 1 or 2 routes that you could take from your apartment in town, but that's all you could use the pass for. We expanded it to be available for use throughout the system. And that's really dramatically increased ridership. And it's also given us an opportunity to remind the apartment complexes of how valuable it is. It helped us to get a little bit more money for the pass, so it's been a good change. We also got new benefits for our employees, new health benefits. Instead of using a kind of government system that we've used in the past, we went to the market and actually got a great deal. So our employees are very happy, and we saved more than $700,000 in this year's budget, so we really are kind of looking to economize wherever we can. And we're going to be introducing in the coming year a new app on your phone that's going to be a single point of contact. Because if you're a CATA user now, there's an app to check to see where the big buses are. If you're a CATA Go user, there's an app for that. Now with the new fare system, there'll be an app for that. So we're thinking there's too many apps. So we're going to try to get one app that everything is in, and you can just have that one app and you can access all those services through that app. Next slide, please. We're also in the middle of an assessment of our bus stops. Some of you may have seen we've had PennDOT engineers looking at all the bus stops in our system. They're evaluating them and cataloging them, taking measurements, taking photographs. And they're going to be helping us to determine if we have any accessibility issues we need to address in the system. And then beyond that, help us put together a plan to kind of upgrade our bus stops. And this is going to be a multi-year project. You, I'm sure, noticed that we put up new bus stop signs. We got rid of the old CATA signs, put up new signs. That was around Christmas time. We're going to be adding to those signs little flags that will tell you what route stops at each one of those stops, as well as the stop number, so just to kind of make them more user-friendly. And we've replaced all the lights, the solar lights that we have, replaced the batteries, so hopefully they're all working system-wide. If they're not, let us know. We'll get on that. We took some new buses this year, 6 new buses and 15 on-demand vehicles. Driver recruitment continues to be a challenge. We would love to have more drivers than we have. We have service needs that we've identified in the center region, and if we have bus operators, and if we get bus operators, we will put that service on the street, additional service on the street. One of the things that was part of our new contract negotiation is that CAT has traditionally just done service changes in August, whenever the students come back. We're now going to be looking at doing that twice a year, doing it in August and also doing a smaller change in January. And that gives us a chance to make some adjustments throughout the year. Should we get more drivers, or should we need to change services? And a couple of things we're looking forward toward, we're exploring, is we're really taking a serious look at service options to serve the airport. CATA has tried in the past, from what I understand, long before me, to put service out to the airport, and I think the problem was the flight schedule changed. So we would have a route schedule, and then the flights don't run that way anymore. We're going to be trying to look at more of an on-call, on-demand type of approach, so we're exploring that. We're also going to be looking at services linking State College to Amtrak, both in Tyrone and in Lewistown. Our concept there, that again we are at the early stages of exploring, is to have some kind of advanced reservation on-call service. So if we know you're coming into town, or we know that you want to go to the train, we can schedule that ahead of time, and then we can either pick you up or we can take you there. A lot of details we have to work out with that, not the least of which is coordinating with Amtrak, which is a big organization, so we'll keep you posted on those. And we're also continuing to look at options for different transfer centers. There's a possibility of a park and ride type transfer center out in the Top Trees area, and the university and the Borough of State College are also looking at the current bus station to see if we might be able to do kind of a multimodal transit center there. So those are some things we're looking at this year. And then the last item is our request. Our request to the township this year, local match is $79,338.69. That is a population-driven equation, and that gets us to 8.75% match for the funds that we're receiving. It was a little bit of a messy calculation this year because we had the Belfon and Benner folks drop out, so we made some last-minute changes. Happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Before we do that, does our College Township CATA Board representative, would he like to offer any additional comments?
No, I think Dave did a fine job summing things up, and I'm always available for the board or any College Township residents' questions.
If you don't know Joe Davidson is our representative from College Township. I also have Lori Miller with us. She is the Director of Community Engagement and Business Development.
Any other CATA staff folks here?
Not on CATA business.
Oh.
There may be some citizens here that are on their own nickel.
All right. As I noted, we will, upon conclusion of this, we will move to the consent agenda where the resolution, local share resolution is, which requires action. Questions, comments for Dave, Tracy?
No, I just think, I love the app idea, putting everything in one, instead of having so many different apps. That does become confusing. I'm
Yes.
getting older and I can't navigate through those things, so I appreciate that. I love the changes you made, and you can see the increase, and I think there was a lot of thought put into that, so I appreciate that, and considering that, and happy birthday.
Oh,
The anniversary, happy birthday, to CATA, and I just think you guys do a really good job of, getting our students around, getting those who can't drive and different things and chooses to use public transportation. So you do a good job. I utilize it on campus. Maneuver, and sometimes it's hard to get to certain places, so using the free is very nice. And then you always have very nice people working as well, so you recruit very well too.
Certainly pass that along to our operators.
So I just want to say thank you. I think the changes and the increase are right on the money, and I like the the possibilities that you guys are thinking outside of the box.
Thank you.
I neglected to offer our
Staff.
manager an opportunity to comment. Did he have anything?
No, I appreciate, as always, Dave, the presentation, very thorough. Nice to get the overview of what's going on at CATA, and, happy to see us making that rebound from some dark days there in COVID. So keep up the good work.
Absolutely. We appreciate your support. We know it was a little touchy there for a couple of years, but it's nice to be back.
This side, Susan?
No, thank you for the presentation. It was very thorough. And I also appreciate that you're adaptable and that you're working to find different ways to make transportation available for people who need it. I always used public transportation when I was younger, and I couldn't have done what I did without it. So I'm not using it as much anymore now, but I really do appreciate that it's here. So thank you.
And our finance committee rep?
Well, no, thank you very much. That was very informative. Appreciated a lot of the subtleties that you built in there. It was very interesting to see your ever evolving. It's not your uncle's old CATA anymore and everything. So it's nice to see. Uncle Eric. So, couple. Since I got pinged for being finance and everything. In your revenue numbers on your second page in there, does that reflect your proposed increases, fare increases?
Yes.
Okay. And so I noted the little deficit. How are you handling that?
Yes.
Carefully.
So, I neglected to mention that. So the budget is structured so that there is a deficit of $2.1 million. So we have a couple of responses to that. The first is, as I mentioned, this is a very optimistic budget, and our history is that we probably will not spend this money. We have typically been spending about 85 to 90% of our budget. So if that's the case, then we will not run a deficit in actuality. Should we have a contingency available of funds that we had for COVID that we are saving so that we can use that to fill the gap, because as you know, we're not allowed to run a deficit. So either way, either we don't need the money, if we do need the money, we have it.
You have it in contingency. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I should mention, foolish not to mention, CATA's financial position is actually wonderful. In spite of what you've heard about other transit systems around the Commonwealth, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, our fiscal cliff is, even if we were to have to pay this deficit and had similar deficits like it, we don't worry about a fiscal cliff for at least 10 years, not 15. So we're in a really good financial position.
That's great. That's great. Out of curiosity, do you ever benchmark your hourly rates against peer organizations?
We do, and the state actually does it for us as well.
Okay.
We remain the most cost-effective transit system in the Commonwealth by almost a factor of 2. The next, our fare box recovery is up above 40%, so that means 40% of our operating costs recovered by fares. And yeah, we're very efficient. PennDOT loves us from that standpoint.
And I wanted to give you the opportunity to crow to that, because that is admirable. And it's incredibly
I
admirable.
would love to say it's because we're entirely brilliant, but it's because of the folks who came before us, and it's also the nature, frankly, of the State College area, that we have so many people who want to travel to the same place. This is a town that was really very smartly designed to be transit-friendly, and I guess CATA was smart enough to take advantage of that.
Great. Thank you very much.
So now that we got the bean counting questions out of the way, we can move to the service-related questions.
Fire away.
Hey, I spent 35 of those 50 years at that podium, so I'll try to stay in my lane. I know my lane. Funny story, you talked about that picture. That was the early 90s, that picture you're talking about in front of the stadium. I'm in that picture, by the way. We hired a photographer, and he took those pictures from the airplane, from a small airplane. But he only got like 1 or 2 because the photographer got airsick. So we had, we paid a decent amount of money for that, but only got 1 or 2 pictures out of it. We were hoping for some more close-up pictures, where you could actually see who was in the picture.
We're using a drone.
What's that?
We're using a drone.
Yeah, well, this was,
for next week.
so it's pre-drone day.
Yeah, things have changed.
I'll tell you, getting permission from the university to use a drone was a huge headache,
Oh, wow.
because you cannot fly drones
Yeah.
anywhere on campus.
Yeah, well, I believe that. By the way, congratulations on settling on a local share that includes Catago service. As you know, that was a chat. I mean, that was, Catago, one of the biggest concerns over Catago was, what are we going to do when it becomes as popular as we know it's going to become? And how's that going to work into the, the local share? You've been to a couple of other municipalities already,
Yes.
and any consistent feedback related to that you could share with us?
Not really. Well, we were to the borough, and the borough doesn't really have any Catago service. And we were to Patton Township, and they were very happy about it. And, to your point, when I said we're going to be expanding to the entire center region, but we're going to be cautious about that, because we very much share your perspective that microtransit is great and very attractive for people, and once they start using it, they don't want to stop using it. So we want to be sure that we are thoughtful of economics, and we don't want to offer microtransit where we already have good fixed route service. So this is really a service that's designed to serve areas that perhaps CATA has tried and served in the past with fixed route, and we just couldn't get ridership, or areas where the population is so light, there's such low density that a fixed route would never work. Last year, we expanded into Hauserville, and we also expanded Ferguson Township way into Ward 1, out to where the ag show is. And that was a little bit of an experiment to see if we added these large areas, what kind of ridership could we get? And it was modest and it was manageable, so we're proceeding carefully. Because to your point, we don't want to get it out of control. I was at a conference last week in Utah, people are doing these kinds of services, and I've heard enough horror stories to keep my feet on the ground, and we need to be thoughtful as we do this.
Yeah, so that's been built on.
Absolutely.
So, and Trippers, great idea. I mean, it's very cost effective, bringing those back. The airport service and the train station service, you're right. The challenge with the airport is the continuous, but microtransit on demand. It's a different animal, and may be able to address that and be nimble enough to meet the demand. And you may or may not be aware that the MPO Center County MPO was awarded a PennDOT planning grant to study and make a recommendation on what would be the most effective and cost-efficient options for connecting the center region with the Amtrak stations. Not one in particular, could be Tyrone, Elton, or Lewistown. And I think that MPO would anticipate awarding a contract sometime here yet in 2025.
Okay.
I imagine that CATA would be part of that research?
Yes, we are plugged into that. We're at the stage of kind of exploring from kind of a cost, operations, and regulatory standpoint, how would we do this? Like just the fare is a question of, we have never gone that far, so how do we charge for something? And also talking to PennDOT about their thoughts and considerations versus this.
Well, that's good, because it is a PennDOT grant, so it's good to have them in the discussion. Then the last thing would be, you mentioned the Catago service in College Township, and you also referenced that one of the efficiencies in our system is that the major employer is at the center of the system. The Catago service currently in College Township requires people to make a connection at Hills Plaza. That's correct?
Yes, but we're gonna be expanding those options this year.
Okay.
I didn't get into that. One of the things I'm happy to talk about, part of the reason I went to.
This is a college,
conference-
because it's College Township.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the reasons I went to this conference last week, was with the vendor who we use our software. And we're interested in really refining how the Catago app can help you actually coordinate and connect your trip from your house to the closest bus route so that you can make an immediate connection. The software has that capability. We haven't refined that yet. If you're a Catago user and you use the app, you can see now that it actually shows you the buses. So the app is getting the live data feed of where our fixed route buses are. That's the first step in actually helping people then coordinate for that. When we expanded the headways on our services, meaning how often they operate, that was another consideration, because if you're going to connect to the buses, it helps if there's a bus there. So having frequent transit service on those main corridors makes it much easier and reasonable to make multiple easy connections. We're trying to make that as seamless as we can.
Okay, so you know where I'm going
I do.
with this. I mean, this is Transit 101.
If you don't want to go in the wrong direction, go where you go.
Yeah, and I see those folks standing in the shelter at Hills Plaza waiting to make the connection. And sometimes in the winter, it's pretty cold, so it's a little bit different if you're sitting in a comfy transit center, you know, but standing out on the street waiting for that connection makes the service less desirable and certainly less attractive to the choice rider.
Agreed.
So, that's all I had. Did you have any additional information on the local share before we move to that?
No, sir.
Okay.
Eric? Can I
Joe.
make one comment here? You want me to give it a mic?
Oh, you have to. I'm okay with you sitting back there, but America can't hear you from back there. So.
I was just sitting here thinking while David was going over his presentation. I've been the county representative to the township for a long, long time. And this is the first time that I can remember during my long tenure as your representative that the local match share would ever approach double-digit increases. So for almost 30 years, I can't remember a time when the local match share would even we're at 8.75%. I mean, that's unheard of in the last 30 years. And I guess this is a sign of the times that, you know, everything's costing more today than it has years before. So we're very fortunate, I think, that our local share is only going up 8.75%, where others, of course, in the center region are going to go up much more than that. But just a reminder to the staff and the council, we're 8.75% is one of the highest increases that we've had in a long, long time.
All right, thanks, Joe. Good points. If there aren't any further comments, I will close discussion then on SB1, and we will move immediately to our consent agenda. And tonight's consent agenda, as usual, has three parts. The first part at CA1 includes one set of minutes from our May 1st, 2025 College Township Council regular meeting. The second portion of the consent agenda includes four pieces of correspondence. CA2A is an email from Gina Leone dated April 30th, 2025 regarding casino impact study. CA2B is an email from John Rumbaugh dated April 30th, 2025 regarding Brandywine Drive traffic. CA2C is an email from Joan Bouchard dated May 1st, 2025 regarding casino impact study. And CA2D is an email with articles from Dan Materna dated May 1st, 2025 regarding the casino. The third section of the consent agenda includes 7 action items. CA3A is the appointment for Code Board of Appeals, appointments for Code Board of Appeals. CA3B is a proclamation P-25-02 recognizing May 2025 as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. CA3C is an equipment auction. CA3D is a request for fee waiver for outdoor refuse service. CA3E is Resolution R-25-13, the CATA local match. CA3F is appointment of Tad Remy to the College Township Planning Commission with a term ending December 31st, 2029. And CA3G is the appointment of Jan Albrecht to the University Area Joint Authority with a term ending December 31st, 2028. Would anyone like to pull any of those items for discussion before the chair entertains a motion to accept it? Consent agenda?
I'd like to pull CA2B.
CA2B. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, I think CA3D, staff is looking for a recommendation. There isn't one.
You said CA3E.
D.
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 D is in dog.
Okay. All right. Anything else? No? All right, then the chair will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented minus CA2B and CA3D.
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion, comments before before council takes action? Anyone in the public like to address council on any matters in the consent agenda? Okay, if not, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. That includes approval of the CATA resolution. Okay, let's go to CA2B, email from John Rumbaugh dated April 30th, 2025 regarding Brandywine Drive traffic.
That's the area around the middle school and the grammar school. I know we've had concerns in the past about the speed of traffic and the volume of traffic. And so I'm just maybe looking for some feedback on where that is.
Yes, actually, we are just finishing up the speed study we're doing on Country Club Road, and we will be putting counters out on Brandywine in the next couple of days, trying to get a couple of weeks' worth of data. We did it last fall, and we weren't seeing the speeding that the residents were concerned about, so we'll see whether it's picked up or how it has changed.
And is that going up the hill on Brandywine or over near the townhouses?
Over near the townhouses.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Is it reasonable to assume that since it's now a through road, that that's contributing factor, or am I?
Well, the last time we did counts, it was right after it opened,
Okay.
so maybe over time, people are more used to it and are going faster, or we'll see.
Okay. He answered my question. I'm just wondering if it was like a certain time, season that they're
Well,
noticing
early
this.
morning,
Gotcha.
people trying to get their kids to school, I think, is where we saw the most
Speeding.
speeding.
Thank you.
All right, CA3D, a request for fee waiver for at-door refuse service.
And I can field that one. This is obviously under the new contract, individuals who have reasonable requests for fee waivers have been encouraged to contact our friends at the COG refuse program, and through Shelley Mado, she is sending those on to us to gain approval from council on these requested waivers. From a staff perspective, they've supplied everything they needed to supply. We feel like it's a reasonable request and would look for your favorable approval of it. This would be the second one that you've seen, that we saw one at the last meeting. And spoiler alert, you're going to see one at the next meeting too. So we've had a handful of these as of late, and at our level, at the staff level, as long as they're supplying the relevant information and proving their case essentially by doing so, we would recommend approval.
Yeah.
I just have a question as far as is there a specific reason why we're seeing the uptick in new requests?
I think it's a recognition of probably as much the cans as anything. The cans are a little, not quite as easy to get to the curbside. Maybe folks that had some limitations physically were able to do previous cans. These new ones, they're significantly heavier because of the change in service, and I think that's probably why we're seeing some of that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Other questions on that? Just quickly, Mike, it sounds like this is how these are going to be resolved going forward.
Yeah, I think we're in a bit of a learning process at this point. Administratively, I believe they could be handled through COG, but if they want to send them, we'll put them on the agenda.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame them for wanting to send them, but there is nothing in the contract or mechanism for them to make these decisions.
I believe it's been their prerogative in the past. I don't know that the contract, limits that. I can't speak to that specifically.
So it's been their prerogative in the past, and now they're moving that prerogative to municipalities?
Seems to be the approach.
All right.
Okay.
I'm not particularly happy with that, but it just seems that they ought to be making those calls, because then you get a consistent evaluation across municipalities. It just seems that way, that, one municipality could be treating
Right.
those requests differently. And it's a regional contract. I'm just saying.
Happy to share those comments.
Yeah, if you would, if there's a consensus, that's just my personal
Sure.
opinion. I'm tossing that out there maybe for a little feedback.
Does a decision need to be made if the person has provided the information or the evidence about the physical disability? Or is that part of the contract, that if they can show the disability, the fees are waived for the service at the door?
I can't really speak to what's in the contract per se. This is kind of a historic practice,
Okay.
that if, there's a reasonable, they can basically justify the reason for their waiver request. It's been approved in the past. It's just a little different take as it's coming to us now to see it.
I mean, is that something that falls under the Americans with Disabilities Act, I wonder?
I wouldn't want to go the other way with it.
I'm just wondering why, if it needs approval, if it meets the requirements of the ADA, would it even need approval if it's in the contract? But that may be a separate question.
Sure. And I'm happy to, again, take those to COG and ask the questions. I don't know all the nuances of the
Maybe
contract.
that's a question
Sure.
Shelley would, yeah.
So that's the feedback. Is there a standard, maybe legally, through
Under the ADA.
that they can just apply across the board to all the municipalities equally, that are included in the contract?
Sure.
Not trying to avoid consent agenda items, I'm just trying to ensure that all the residents in the,
Treated fairly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if somebody has a disability and it's documented and it's been shown that they can't do this and it's a protected, I guess, right, then if we don't really, it doesn't need subjective decision-making.
I will pass that along.
Thank you.
all right.
But for this one,
Yeah. Well,
we're offering a consensus to staff?
oh, yes, I didn't mean to insinuate
No,
we
no.
shouldn't approve the consent agenda.
Didn't take it that way.
Going forward, I think.
Right.
Well, beyond the consent agenda, we have to offer a consensus on the outcome of that.
Yeah, and we would, if we hadn't pulled it, that would have been the consensus.
No, it wouldn't have, because it doesn't recommend, it doesn't say
I
anything.
got you.
It's silent to it. And so we need to offer that consensus probably after the consent agenda. I don't think it has to be a vote, does it?
I think you're fine with that. So as long as everyone's comfortable with the comments being simplified and, the requested action.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, you're going to take action on the consent
We're going to
agenda
receive,
item.
we're receiving the memo, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve CA2B and CA3D.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Anyone like to comment, address council before we take action on that? Gretchen?
Good evening. I'm on the CAS committee, Gretchen Brandt from SCASD, so I can answer a couple questions that I heard you all asking. Is it in the contract, Susan? It is in the contract. And it's the providing documentation part, that's why it's required. So anybody can't just say, well, I have a disability, so please pick up my trash at my door.
Sure.
So anyhow, that's what it is as long as they provide documentation, and that's what it says in the contract. But Eric, I thought you brought up a really good point, because and this is where I have a question for you. Is it the case that the township then pays for this, the extra fee for the door-to-door service, or does that come from the COG?
I don't know the answer to that.
The reason I'm asking is because I thought you had a good point about, like, why are we seeing this? Why wouldn't this be voted on at the COG level? And I'm guessing that maybe that's because you as a township decide whether you want to cover that or not based on the documentation that staff receives. So maybe that's why the townships are deciding on an individual basis like this, even though it does say it in the contract that this is to be provided, so.
And I think that's why I asked, that's a good point, Gretchen. That's why I asked about whether it's covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act, and the hauler has to waive the fee in compliance with the ADA.
Okay.
That's a possibility too.
Yeah. Anyway,
So
That-
that actually
Well,
could be
yeah.
teased out and defined.
Right, the same as, it does say you have to provide documentation, it doesn't say to whom,
Yeah.
whether
Right,
that be
and-
to COG
and-
or whether that be the municipality. I don't think we're clear on that unless you are.
so, Mike, are they providing it to you?
We see it as well. Obviously, we're not showing it in the agenda,
Yeah.
but we have been in receipt of those materials.
And the COG passes
The
it along
COG
to you?
passes them to us.
Huh, okay. Well, I can ask about it at the next committee, but
But then.
interesting detailed questions.
To Gretchen's question, another thing to find out is, are we then paying the hauler? Because that would then explain a little bit why it's coming back to
Sure.
us.
And if we are paying the hauler, then determine that we have to pay the hauler and it's not covered under the ADA.
Yeah.
So from this point, what I will do is I will reach out for some clarity on this, and at your discretion, I could have it thrown on to the next agenda, just to provide an update.
Yeah, oh, yeah, on our agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Gretchen.
All right, I have a motion, I have a second. Any more comments before council takes action, considers action? All right, all in favor of the motion to receive and accept the remaining consent agenda items, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda in full, approved. That takes us back to our second special presentation, SP2, Mount Nittany Conservancy. Am I correct that we didn't get anything in our packet ahead of time?
And I'll just do a quick intro. Derek, appreciate you being here tonight. Derek Culp reached out to us he wanted to provide an update on some of the work that they've been doing at Mount Nittany Conservancy level, some concept ideas that they have for trail and the trailhead. And so we're all seeing this fresh at this point, and with that, Derek, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
All right, thanks very much. Yeah, I'm Derek Kalp, local landscape architect. Work for Penn State, have my own private practice, and I'm recently become a member of the Mount Nittany Conservancy. So thanks for having me. So yeah, I just wanted to give council at Adam's recommendation to come and meet with you and give you kind of an update of where and what we're thinking about with essentially to improve the visitor experience of our most revered natural landmark, Mount Nittany. Next slide, please. So essentially the study goals, and I need my glasses, are to explore the relocation of, thank you, of the trailhead to the recently adopted parking lot, right, which used to be overflow parking and township storage of materials, and is now, I understand, is being completely, focused for parking. And then also with that, to study new trail alignment options, as well as we also would like to look at formalizing the parking lot layout just to maximize efficiency. It's just kind of a random situation now. Minimizing pavement, looking at maybe perimeter landscaping, and then fourth and final is to consider some additional amenities to enhance the visitor experience, like you might see at a state park or something. So, next slide, please. So the Conservancy hired Sarah Walters, who she's a landscape architect, actually grew up in Lamont, so she was very excited to work on this. She has a firm called Penn Trails, and so she specializes in trail design and construction. And so she looked at existing conditions for us, came out and surveyed the area, and provided some thoughts on a couple of trail options. So as you can see in the existing conditions image on the left, we're essentially, if you can read the labels, basically the parking area we're talking about is in that kind of triangular wedge-shaped parcel on the left side. And the existing trailhead, as you may know, is at the end of the gravel road at the top of the image. And so there's some disconnect there. And so what we wanted to do was, explore how some alternate trails could link the new parking, I'll call it, to essentially the main destination is the Mike Ledge Overlook. So some of the challenges you can see in that left image. So let's see. First of all, the wedge shape is township property, as you probably realize, but it comes to a point. And so unless you kind of hop over that point when you're on the trail, you're going to have to cross private property. So that's something to consider. The other thing that the dashed line shows, Sarah recognized that there's what trail folks call a social trail, which is nothing that was ever designated or marked or constructed as a trail, but folks just made it because it's essentially a shortcut, right? People want to get to where they're going. They want to come up or down more directly on the mountain. So then on the image on the right, it's showing these couple of trail possibilities or options. And so the red kind of zigzag is looking at coming right from that overflow, or what used to be overflow parking, directly up the slope, and then essentially potentially breaking into two directions. We had initially approached her with the orange route that heads kind of planned north to link up to the existing white trail, which seemed to kind of make sense. You would kind of go across the contours, it wouldn't be quite as steep, and you would connect to the new trail and be on your way. But Sarah, after recognizing the social trail, that more direct route, she wanted to study what it might look like to have a more direct, but yet still have some switchbacks and things that it wasn't quite as intense. And so that's what that kind of blue-purple line is representing. So those are two options. Next slide, please. And just to give you a sense, these are the types of steps that she's considering, right? So it's rustic, but still formal enough. There's some handrails or guardrails as needed. This is sometimes built with some boulders and stones that are on site, but probably some of this material would have to be, or quite a bit of the step material would have to be imported. I just wanted to give folks just an idea of what this could look like. Next slide. And then again, some images from Sarah on, first of all, sort of trail dynamics, how to create what's called a benched trail in a slope, and then some images on the right. Okay, next slide, please. So I just wanted to, she also provided some what's called rough order of magnitude costs, right? Just kind of very approximate, and adding some relatively hefty contingencies in there because you're climbing a mountain. So, more study would be needed. She essentially did kind of a fairly quick survey and explored these routes. So you can see that the orange route, following the contours, you're not climbing as much elevation with that route, is on the surface considerably less expensive than the blue-purple route where you're heading directly to the top, to the summit. However, I noted in yellow there that the orange route would also ideally require improvements to the existing trail, because she noted that the existing trail has a lot of issues, erosion and so forth, that make the accessibility challenging. So really, when you add in what she estimated at about $600,000 to fix the existing trail on top of that cost for that orange route, it's really not too far away from what's probably a more ideal route directly to the overlook. Okay, next slide. So just a little preview again, so just looking at this GIS map of the current parking area and proposed trailhead, just to give you a sense for context in terms of Mount Whitney Road and where that kind of shelf level area is. You can see the steep slopes that help to create that terraced area. Next slide. And again, here's a Google image or aerial that I just used as just as a base, I'll call it, for the concept. And you can see this was some time ago where there were still some spoil piles, different materials that the township had been storing there. Okay, next slide. And then this is a plan that actually I developed with Conservancy input and buy-in. Essentially just looking at taking this large kind of indistinguishable gravel area, right, and creating a more formal, organized parking so that it meets parking standards, you increase efficiency, people know where to park, how far away to park from another car, and so forth. So it's just to help maximize the functionality of that space, as well as hopefully look at opportunities to kind of carve into that gravel and be able to surround this area with some most likely native plantings to help sort of set the scene. And then, so that's in that green kind of perimeter. And then the blue would be it's a kind of pathway network. I could see perhaps some ADA parking and some accessible parking in the lower corner with a hard, compact pathway over. We're suggesting that, we could imagine there should be some bike parking there, for example. Possibly a restroom building would be probably something that would be, not connected, could be connected to sewer service. It would have to be kind of self-contained, something that would be pumped. And then the last kind of piece, so the orange is that kind of rough alignment of that trail down the slope. And then what could be really exciting too is just to create sort of part of this kind of visitor experiences. Could be a bit of a gathering spot there as well. Maybe a couple of piers of stones just sort of set into the slope that folks could either hang out. Maybe there's a class or a gathering there before they head up the mountain or when they come back down. And it's a cool spot to maybe incorporate a sign. Maybe there's, like I said, sort of national park, maybe stonework and some kind of really nice sign there. And so it's all about making something more efficient and more of a pleasant experience to really set the scene or set the stage for climbing the mountain, which of course is a tradition here and something that a lot of Penn State students do. So just hoping that well, next slide actually. This is our next challenges and next steps. So there's quite a few challenges and next steps. One is, like I said, this property comes to a sharp point, and trying to navigate how we might engage with private landowners in terms of easements or some kind of acquisition. The technical aspects, right, of grading, stormwater management, permitting and zoning, and so forth to make this happen. Certainly the financial aspect, so it's not cheap. And so part of what we're working on is Stephen Spoonamore, actually, who's our liaison with council or with the township, is kind of ready to submit some grant applications, but we really kind of need to get like the land aspect sorted. And of course, the final thing would be township support. And obviously, we're using township property and to be able to move forward there. So anyway, that's the big picture. Again, it's very conceptual. This is just, again, exploring these alternative routes, big contingencies on the estimates, as I noted. And then, of course, my concept is just very, very generic, right? It's just sort of looking at, here's one pass at this without much detail, just to kind of paint the picture. Any questions?
Well, as noted, this is be like a concept sketch plan. So we're talking big picture, initial reactions. We started with Tracy last time. Rich, you're still formulating thoughts there, or?
No, I appreciate the early look at it and everything. I mean, I almost think it warrants a future agenda item to more in-depth review it since we're just seeing it for the first time.
Yeah. So any questions on the concept? Okay.
I mean, what I took away is you're going to leave it gravel or not.
That's to be determined, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. I mean, we've not really
Sure.
explored anything other than a layout. Yeah.
Okay.
So
We have no cost, no cost associated with that sketch.
Right,
Yeah.
right. No, it can also be some opportunities, especially with the natural elements of it and everything. Some unique design stuff that might be able to do it, but of course that usually costs money. So, but that might also make it more attractive to get outside money towards it. But I think it's definitely needed. I think an organized basis for the parking there would benefit a lot more people.
I support it in concept. I think fixing the parking area, improving that conceptually would certainly make it more hospitable, might highlight that area as a parking area. I think there's still some confusion about parking up there, at least there has been when I've been up there. And then conceptually, since that is the parking area, getting to the trailhead on a trail, it would no longer be the trailhead. But, conceptually, the orange trail is very attractive. The other trail looks steep, could be challenging for people to get to, so they would still be going back up the road to get to the other trailhead. That's the best I could see. So I would love to have a copy of the presentation if it's possible, just to look at the maps a little bit more closely. But I really appreciate the attention to bringing the area along, making it hospitable and more welcoming. So thank you for that.
Tracy?
Yeah, I just had a question as far as like the approach for the layout. When it was approached, was there like a comparison, or there similar like trailheads to this area that has like the steeper peak that was, that had some layout designs that you guys approached, or what was the approach on the layout design?
So I think Sarah really, like I said, that orange, maybe I hope I'm answering your question. The orange route was actually something that we initially thought would make sense because it's not quite as steep. You're still, ultimately you're still traversing the same amount of topography, and I think there's still a lot of steps involved. But, the blue-purple was really recognizing that if we don't address that social trail, that shortcut trail, which as a campus landscape architect, student shortcuts is the bane of my existence, right? But, that is going to be something that we're going to have to deal with probably regardless. So even if we build the orange trail and spend all the money doing that, we might have an issue with that straight up and down kind of shortcut path. So it just seemed like it could be done. And we wanted, I think, showing the images of the steps because, yeah, there's steps, but we could offer, landings and breaks and seating and those kinds of things. So I think we would still, I honestly, I'm being a little new to the board. The guys who've been on it for many years really know all the nuances here. We have to keep probably some of the existing trails open probably anyway because of some other access issues. But, this is really just trying to make sense of the whole sequence of experience. When you arrive, there's this arrival moment. It's easy in terms of wayfinding. Here's the trailhead. It's sort of celebrated in a way. And then you have that sort of processional experience up the mountain.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I guess what I'm asking is like the approach to the layout. Was it compared to any one that was similar, like in other spaces? That's what I was asking.
In terms of what I did, it was just really just my own design thoughts.
Okay.
And like, national parks, things I've visited, right? Sarah certainly has a tremendous, and why we brought her on board was she has a tremendous amount of trail design and construction experience. So she was able to really vet what is possible based on, so those images are projects she's built, so it's been done, right?
That's all I wanted to know. I mean, I support it conceptually. I just wanted to, I'm always the why and the what type of person, so I just wanted to know what was the approach.
Sure.
That's all.
Sorry for the long
Thank you, that's okay.
Yeah, thanks, Derek, for all the good work and time you put in with the Conservancy. Should we assume that this has been floated to the Conservancy and conceptually has their support?
Yes.
Okay. So I think what you're hearing here is conceptually, we support this. I think, we took the first step in converting the shale pit over because we saw a need to have additional parking and to reduce the burden on the road there leading right up to the existing trailhead. So I think I think we're all gonna like the idea that to the extent we can take the pressure off of the existing trailhead, whether it's cars still parking there instead of parking and walking up, absolutely that's consistent with the effort that we put into the shale pit, for sure. And the question that I have is, you mentioned private property. I didn't really see a lot of encroachment on private property in the options. Did I miss something?
It's not, potentially not much. If we take the blue-purple alignment, for example, again, it's just the fact that it comes to what appears to be a really sharp point.
Yeah.
So you're going to need some width of access there, It does, but it doesn't, a good question. I'm not sure how much. In one respect, yeah, you need, maybe 10 feet to sort of fit a trail in there, but at the same time, you want to have some control to some extent on either side so that those lands are not impacted.
So really, we're talking about that point.
Correct.
The
Yeah,
point.
where the
because
red, orange, and blue meet. Yeah.
The other trail options could exist fully off of the private property.
I think so. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask Sarah. I know she was mapping a route that made sense and avoided some issues, but presumably you could get up above those private property lines with that route. It's really that coming to a point with the township land and being able to get through that with enough width that it's technically feasible and also kind of preserves the extent of the experience of the trail.
Because you noted the three things on there, and one of them was the private property acquisition or easement. That certainly simplifies that one, and then it comes down to, permitting and financing. And I think that's where, if we get a copy of this and can sink our teeth into it a little bit more, I think we'll be able to provide, make some decisions on commitment level, at that point.
I think it could be interesting. I know just a very cursory conversation with a new engineering firm in town I have a relationship with, and they were interested in maybe a scope of work, but it could be something that, some engineering services might be offered. Who knows, right? With the significance of this place and with the board members, maybe there's some kind of in-kind gifts that could be made as well. Not sure. But.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Derek, it sounds like you've got unanimous support conceptually and interest in getting a copy of the presentation and being able to look at it in more detail, and then potentially bringing it back for that more detailed discussion if and when the Conservancy gets to that point.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank
Will
you.
that be accurate?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes both of our special presentations. We have no plans. That takes us to reports. The only report that I have in my packet tonight is that of the manager. Does the assistant manager have any additional information he'd like to offer on anything in the report?
I just wanted to highlight just a couple items. Obviously, under the solar power purchasing agreement, as the note that Adam put in there, the final agreements for the PPA are complete and ready for signature. The one note that's starting to make some news here recently is that Prospect 14 has actually moved away from the Walker Township location to a location in Clarion County for their final project location. As part of the negotiations, that was their prerogative to do. So that's the only real change from anything we've heard at this point about the PPA. Otherwise, just a couple quick updates on our Path to Campus project. Dawn, myself, and Adam met with our engineer to start looking at some preliminary routing. of the trail. And next steps are some, at least initially, a discussion with PennDOT about the potential crossing there at Porter Road. And then some discussions with both Gray Star and Penn State about how it moves into their property as moves up towards that connection with Hastings Road. So pleased at this point with where Keller's at on their design. They have some options and some ideas in terms of routing, and we're anxious to start narrowing those down and having some discussions with property owners to see what their thoughts are in terms of the concepts. Last but not least, just an update on the impact study. As you know, Convergent Strategy Group was selected, and they've hit the ground running. One of the consultants was in town this week. Had an opportunity to meet with Adam and I to just talk through some data needs. Also had an opportunity to meet with Chief Gardner and Sean Kaufman from COG, Fire Department, and EMA to talk through some of those elements. And they were making a whirlwind tour throughout the state, visiting all of the Category 4 locations in this initial visit to the state of Pennsylvania. So they are off and running with this study, and we'll be providing them data to continue to feed into their at least initial model development, and anxious to continue working with them on development of this report.
Questions for the manager? Thank you for the update. That concludes manager's report. That takes us to COG regional, county, and liaison reports. We'll start with our COG committee reports. By my calendar, facilities was the first committee to meet since our last council meeting. Is that true, Rich? Did you guys meet on the 6th of May?
We did. I actually remoted to that one from PSATs and everything. So the items on that agenda were a reclassification of the facility administrator position to a facility manager position. I'm not going to go too far in that because I think Tracy will talk with that HR. I would only offer that we did recommend and support it. Originally, when that position was created, that was the intent. Kind of got a little hijacked with becoming project managers of Whitehall Road and Millbrook Marsh, and the current administrator is taking the position in the exact direction that we had originally envisioned and hoped, and everything. And so they're looking at trying to even further his role and build upon that and the value that he provides the COG. We received the initial look at the 2026 SIGC capital investments, what they're looking at from a facility standpoint of putting in the 2026 budget. It's needed, not wanted stuff, and trying to keep things in balance for that. We reviewed the asset and facility management documentation. What do we want to know about our assets, and what kind of documentation do we want to have for those? And we offered some guidance on as they begin assembling that. That will be a long-term project. We'll pick a date and go forward, and then catch up with things going backwards as we can. We got an initial look at the COG maintenance and asset management agreement, in particular for the fire stations. We want to make sure that the documents we're using cover the gray areas, capital replacement, repairs, maintenance, what all needs to be in there to make sure that everybody understands whose responsibility and cost what is. So that's coming forward. And then finally, we received an update on the current 2025 capital projects. All projects are proceeding within budget and on schedule.
That's certainly good news. Questions for Rich? All right, then that takes us to HR.
Yes, so we did meet on, I was about to say April 7th, May 7th, it's May already, I need to get together. We met on May 7th, we hadn't met since February, just because we didn't have any business March or April. But when we met, we kind of landed on the metrics. So back in the fall, there was metrics being asked of council to call to kind of determine how they approach like staffing needs and different things. So we stayed on that topic quite some time, and we realized we want to take this back to our councils and kind of have them review. So look over the proposals that they have and make sure that we're not missing anything, because we realized that we probably needed a little more input. We were supposed to make a decision, we did not, because everyone in the committee decided that it was best to take it back to our council. So I can submit that to you guys. You can take a look at it and make sure it represents what we want to see captured as far as like metrics for how they approach their HR and hiring purposes and different things like that. And then next it was, we had to vote upon 3 different systems that HR would like to update iManagement. So right now they just use a basic like Excel form, trying to come into like the new century, and it will do a lot more with how they submit job descriptions and get those out there, how they clock hours. Right now it lands in a space and a lot of people have access, so to make it a little bit more, private. So that's called iManagement. I'm sorry, iHire module. And then they asked also about approving for payroll time and attendance module. So again, they use an older system with just an Excel file. This will help bring them kind of into the new technology era and make it more efficient. So and a lot of hands kind of touch this, and again, it will make it a little more private. So that was that. And then the third thing was the request for personnel staff in the different areas. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. I did take notes. So let me get back to there. Kind of went backwards to come forward. So as Rich mentioned, they wanted to reclassify the facility administrator to facility manager. Again, under the office administration, they wanted to remove the following positions that was kind of proposed with the former executive director, right? Am I saying that right? Okay, yeah, proposed under him. I'm still learning, sorry guys. So they want to remove the position of grant writer / administrator. They don't feel they need that position. Deputy executive director, IT administrator, and communication administrator. They feel like this falls under the executive director. Some things fall under him, some fall under someone that's currently operating in that position. The current Ben feels that he can handle the workload a little bit differently than the former director, so he's asking for those positions to be removed. And then under code, they want to hire a permit technician. It's because of overlap and upcoming retirements, kind of, we forecast yesterday. And then also they want to reinstate the commercial plans examiner / building inspector position, because they have regional demands for that right now. And then under planning, they want to incorporate the AmeriCorps position into the budget on a permanent basis. Right now it was on a temporary basis, and they want to make that permanent. And then they wanted to slightly increase the budget to allow for a graduate intern. They have one, it's working out, and they want to continue that position. And then they wanted to remove the unfulfilled senior land use planner position, just because they haven't had any interest, and it's just taking up funds that could be allocated somewhere else. And then lastly, under Regional Fire Protection Program, they want to hire another captain of field service, and make that like 2 positions and for a 5-year staffing plan. So in the next 5 years, that's what they want to do. And that's pretty much all we went over, because like I said, the metrics, we kind of spent a lot of time on that, just because we realized we didn't effectively maybe taking it to our committee, our councils, and we want to make sure we get your opinions and make sure it reflects what we want. And that's all I have.
Questions? Then possibly the feedback on the metrics it may be easier to do that as an agenda item?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
when you get that,
Mhm.
forward it to staff, and I'll work with Mike and Adam, and we'll see
Okay.
where we're going to put it. Is there is the expectation that you'll get back to them before the next HR meeting?
That was never defined.
Okay, well then we'll look at the upcoming agendas and see where it fits best.
Okay. Sounds good.
Then that would take us back to Rich, Finance Committee, then following day on the 8th.
Yes. We had our first we added an agenda item for an opportunity to discuss economic impacts to the COG from things happening in Washington DC and Harrisburg and whatnot like that. 2 items were identified. The funding for AmeriServe was removed. So there's enough money in for 3 months of that position currently, and they're looking to see if they can supplement it elsewhere. And there was a discussion about potential library funding, future cuts, but nothing this moment. We finalized the budget timeline based on the revisions that were discussed at the general forum. And then the majority of the meeting was actual meat and potatoes into the fund balance policy. We got through our preface pages, which will provide the general, this is similar across all funds kind of thing. And then we actually got into our first actual funds administration, was the first one. And very good discussions, very lively debate on how to proceed. And we'll keep tackling that one fund at a time and then finally sum it up. We're approaching it very similar to the budget, what we've done with the budget the past couple of years, and that we keep looking, and then at the end we make a decision in totality. So the big thing to prepare yourself for is we went from one extreme to another. When I first started, COG balances are too high, fund balances are too high, and we whittled those down, and now, we don't have a good operational cushion for operations. Should something,
Cash flow?
yeah, should something go wrong. So we're coming back the other way, and we're trying to find the happy medium in between for umpteen funds that are funded by different funding partners and at different times and all that good kind of stuff. So there is no cookie cutter, one fits all. So we're attacking it one at a time, and then we'll come up with a final resolution and then an implementation plan. It'll probably be similar to the compensation study where we implemented it over several years.
Questions for Rich? If not, then Susan, I believe you filled in for Dustin at the Climate Action and Sustainability meeting on the 12th.
I did. Give me just a sec to get to my notes. So a couple of different items that we discussed were already covered in Tracy's HR report and also in yours, Rich. The changes, we all know that Pam Adams will be the director, and there were changes in the other planning positions, and also the AmeriCorps funding that's been changed. So Rich, you touched on that. There was a discussion early on in the meeting about how to fund removal of the food waste for some residents who were over the allotment for the can, their refuse can. And that's being taken care of by funds that were available to the executive director, so that's not going through the COG funds. There were close to, I think, 300, maybe 250 residences out of 17,000 that needed an additional bag to discard their food waste, so the executive director took care of funding for that. The AmeriCorps member, they are working to find ways to support her She's been doing good work. As part of the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, she has also been working on developing the, let's see, Gretchen's in the audience, community stewardship network and working on building networks to do training in the communities. So that work will be carried on even in the absence of that position. So she's done a really good job on that. Yeah, that was about it. You guys talk more about the changes in the staffing. So.
Question? No? Then you're up again. 'Cause
I know.
next
Public
day was
safety.
Public safety.
Public safety. So, let me take a look at my notes again. So, public safety, the majority of our meeting this month was spent discussing the approval of the code positions and budget requests. And so that was also covered in HR, so you covered some of that, Rich. So we forwarded that. That will be coming back to the Finance Committee. That was all within budget, or it was part of the capital improvement plan. So there were no surprises there. And we also had a discussion about some of the federal funding changes and the impacts on emergency services. I shared that Jonathan and I attended the Township Emergency Manager Association training in Hershey before PSAC, and talking about federal funding cuts affecting PEMA and then coming down to the county and the local level. So very high-level conversations, no major decisions. Typically, I submit a written report, which I did not get to this week, so I'll submit that.
Well, you're in good
post-meeting.
company, so.
Yeah, I believe that.
It's easier when you do the written report, because you can get yourself organized a little bit. There just wasn't time for that this week. But I'll get that to Katie this week.
That leaves me, a bit of good news. Our executive committee meeting for next week has been canceled. And you know what that means. That means sometime tomorrow or Monday, you will get an email that says the May General Forum meeting will be canceled. So some found time in everyone's calendar. I will be attending the Penn State Climate Symposium. Actually, Gretchen is registered too, which is here at Penn State tomorrow and Tuesday. Hope to be able to grab a few maybe low-hanging fruit type strategies that we can weave into both our day-to-day business and our long-range capital plan that we're currently.
I'm registered for that as
Are you?
well.
Okay.
Through my work at Penn State.
I mean, it's here, just a boatload of knowledgeable people will be speaking, including some locals, so it was available, didn't want to take advantage of the opportunity. Can't be there all day tomorrow, but should be able to be there all day on Tuesday. And before we get off of COG, Dustin will be unable to attend climate action in June, and I didn't see any takers by email, so just.
Yeah, I was the stopgap.
You were the stopgap? Okay. Well, it looks like we're at that position.
Okay.
And then Mike is your stopgap, or Adam.
So if I say no, Mike has to go?
Just saying.
And I won't be able to attend CTIDA this week, and Rich has offered to go in my stead.
I think we have a new super sub now. All right. Liaison reports, I don't.
Mr. Chair, I will offer that I also attended the joint Center Region Parks and Rec Authority and Parks Capital Committee meeting today remotely. It was a very robust agenda. I'm not going to go into it. I'll try to sum that up but a lot of interesting things, a lot of stuff in College Township. The meeting was actually at Millbrook Marsh. Just quick highlights, the Bathgate Springs pedestrian bridge got a new reassessment of their engineering, and it's not as bad as the first assessment, so hopefully that moves that agenda forward. I will offer that there's some stream bank stabilization projects in the marsh going to be occurring. So if we get calls about people in the marsh with Tonka toys, that it might be associated with that. Another College Township item, the Oak Hall well, is inching closer to going into operation, but one of the things that came out is DEP requires the authority to have land rights on the Zone 1 area, and under the 2013 lease agreement, they did not, so they're amending that to fix that. Jerry Northridge did an excellent job representing the township with both hats today. The others are the Center Region Adult Center, which is also in College Township. They're going to get a little more per meal from the county, and they're also looking at the agreement to extend and everything. The other, another College Township, College Gas Easement Park work in Spring Creek Park. That's a sensitive item from us, as we saw in our press release regarding the remembrance trees, and that the authority got a view of that. And then finally, the one that you're going to start seeing the rounds of is the John Hess Softball Complex Master Plan. They're calling it the all ages layout, which is basically 3 adult level softball fields with 300-foot fences and everything, as opposed to 4 youth fields. The consensus that I heard was you can make a big field smaller, but you can't make a smaller field bigger. So they can also utilize, as they are at Oak Hall, the outfields in those bigger fields for some of the rectangular field requirements. So that went, the authority made their recommendation, the Parks Capital supported it and sent it to the Facilities Committee for its next stop.
Well, that's a lot. Questions?
Yeah, I'm bored often.
I actually had one. They 2 master plans were developed by the architect way back. One was 3-field, one was 4. So they're just endorsed the one as it was designed, or are they looking to hire somebody to do another 3-field master plan?
No, so that, what occurred is those 2 master plans, and they got talked about a lot and everything, but no actual action was taken. One of the things, if you remember the 4-field plan, they were going to have to try to acquire a little bit more land from the adjoining property owner, and that wasn't really receptive at that time, but there's been some changes in that. And so there was a discussion, should we pursue that again? Based on the changes in utilization since that original master plan was done, which, oh, by the way, it's expired. It was 2010, and they said it has a 10-year life, so it was like 5 years expired in its own right and everything. But based on the current climate, the staff recommended the 3 adults field configuration, but based on those previous plans that you asked.
Yeah, there was benefits to both. And
Yep.
You articulated probably the best and highest benefit to a 3-field setup.
Yep.
All right, then I think that might conclude our COG regional reports. And that would take us to staff, planning commission, and other committee reports. Let's start with planning commission, and then we'll go to Janet, and then we'll go to a barn dance update.
Yeah, we had only one topic when we met last time, and it was sort of a follow-up of our joint meeting. So far this year, I think we've had a new approach to talking about form-based code. We've been moving forward. I'd say the last meeting, maybe we went a little bit sideways. We're struggling with some of the terms and the The idea is, looking out in the future, and probably, I think the best example is, what's urban? So we started out talking urban, and it goes from Hoboken, New Jersey, to New York, to Philadelphia, to Toronto, to Tokyo. And about then Dawn chimes in and says, well, actually by density definition, Lamont is urban. So a couple days after the meeting, I got to thinking about that. And I have 2 sons, and probably 2 things they enjoy when they come home is like fresh brewed coffee in the morning and an occasional IPA. So if you're gonna go get a cup of coffee and you go over to Rothrock's or Giant, it's a strip center, it's pretty much like suburban. But if you wanna go to the place in the Lamont House, it's suburban. Lamont House, to me, that's urban. I usually drop them off and I go to what I call the cell phone lot, which is the Lamont Post Office parking lot. And if there's a spot to have a coffee on the porch, they send me a text and tell me to go home, and I go pick them up later. If you want to have an IPA, you can go out to Old New York, and there's that old giant parking lot, a lot of place to park. But if you want to go to the Voodoo place, especially if the bank's still open and the main lobster place is still open, that's definitely urban. I mean, same thing usually happens. I drop them off. They call me, say, hey, Dad, come pick me up. Anybody have any questions?
Tracy? No? Anybody?
I think just a comment, urban has been a real problem, that it seems like that definition of what is urban or what is urban, not urban, seems to be a challenge. Is there some way of breaking past that?
Well, I think that my concept, this is my opinion, is there's pockets of urban. Like the borough is actually a pocket urban in the center region or in center county. Probably when if Berkentine opens up, that's going to be urban too. And like I say, even the coffee or getting a beer, I think is, and there's probably going to be some areas, probably eventually when the casino opens, probably a lot of things you're going to see out there is going to be urban too. But you also see like a mile away, it's going to be, farmland, so.
Yeah. Does DPZ offer any guidance on how to break past that word?
Not,
Yeah, no.
I don't know if we've ever really put it in front of them. I mean, we give them updates of our PC, we give them joint meeting updates. But that's a
Yeah.
good question, Susan, maybe something to post to them.
We're trying to avoid that word.
We do.
Yeah, and I get that, Don, I really do, because I know that I've watched the meetings, and I've watched this come around again and again, and the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. Is there something
Thank you.
different that could break the logjam, either find a different word, or, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have the answer, but I'm just asking, because I think if something has to be different, because we keep coming back to this, and we want
Correct.
to move forward. We want to get this done.
Yeah, correct, I agree.
Before you answer that, what is the fear around urban? Is there a fear around urban? Like, what is the concern with saying an area is urban? Because
Well,
that,
I think a little bit of is change too. I think some folks like State College to be the way it was a long time ago. And I think people have some experience living in, urban areas that they see some of the aspects of an urban area that they really don't want. It might be one of the reasons they moved here is to get away from a place like that.
If I may, go ahead, Lindsay.
I think the more, we talk about density and as we get through the lot sizes and block sizes, things like that, I hope that softens a little bit. We had the urban discussion early on.
Right.
And then we brought it back, and no one really seemed to be on board. Then we brought it back and we had a few people on board. So we could maybe test it in a few more months and see about, who's else is going to be on board as we continue to move forward and understand the concepts and the code a little bit more.
What I was going to add to that is we did have a kind of a post-meeting follow-up discussion with our kind of core team that's been working on how to advance the ball, essentially. So this next planning commission meeting, we've really scaled down in terms of the chunks that we're going to try to take. I felt like we made good progress at the joint meeting. There was some good guidance there, and that's just going to be reframing and coming back to that. So, you get the spoiler alert here, Matt, tonight. So the next focus will be a discussion very much on frontages. As we talked about with streetscapes, we moved from the street to the sidewalk to the building property line. And now we're taking a look at the actual front of the building. So it's going to be a discussion of minimum and maximum lot sizes, just the front width. And then also a look at the setback, the front setback, and if we get there, the side setback. So we're recognize that, that, as you said, Matt, kind of went a little bit sideways at this meeting, so I think we're going to come back with a very deliberative approach. Okay, set some of this stuff aside, much like we did at the joint meeting. Anything that's kind of outside of the agenda is a whiteboard issue, so that we can start picking off some chunks here with this section of the ordinance. So that's the intent for the next meeting, and you're probably going to have at least one special guest at the next meeting as well. It'll either be Adam or it's going to be me, just to kind of come in and talk about some of this area of, if there's lack of clarity on certain things, maybe we can help opine and offer some clarity to those. But yeah, that's the approach that we're going to take, and that's the intent of having that small group, is to, anytime we kind of see a place where we're not making progress, okay, what do we need to do to readjust to make sure that we continue on a trajectory and keep chipping away at this stone.
Okay, now, in closing, it's baseball season, so somebody asked the great American philosopher Yogi Berra about his favorite restaurant. He said it's so busy that nobody goes there anymore.
All right. Janet, you have to top that.
I can. We didn't meet in May. I'll remind everybody, we're going to have our parks tour on June 9th, starting in the parking lot at the Township Building at 6 o'clock. We've had guests accompany us in the past, and you're invited to come along if you're so inclined. Two personal observations on Derek Cobb and the Mount Nittany Conservancy discussions. When he was on Parks Committee, he's always provided insightful plans and concepts. And secondly, for those that don't know, the person that they're consulting with, Sarah Walters, in addition to being a Lamantian, she's Lynn and Dan Clee's daughter.
That's right. That's Sarah. Oh. Yeah.
Good to know.
That's Sarah.
That's Sarah.
A little
Okay.
other
Well, she's
trivia on Sarah. She may or may not have worked for me at one point.
okay.
And
And
counting.
Sarah is incredibly talented and dedicated to her work, and so I'll really enjoy looking at her pictures. Thank you for mentioning that, Janet. Sarah. Wow.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Janet. And then that will take us to the barn dance update. All right?
Sure. Well, I'll make the shameless plug, and then I'll let Lindsay fill in the details. Just a reminder to everyone that our sesquicentennial barn dance celebration is this weekend, Saturday, May 17th. 6 to 9 is the actual event. It's going to feature contra dancing, food trucks, live music, and more. So it's going to be the place to be here this weekend. And with that, Lindsay, you go ahead and fill in the blanks.
Well, it's a free event. It starts at 6. We're going to have yard games. We have giant Jenga. We have Yahtzee. Thank you to those who donated some yard games, cornhole, can jam, face painting. We're going to have Doan's Bones and another, I think, a vegan food truck. So we'll have lots of options for folks. And the contra dancing starts at 7. We're going to have music prior to that. And it should be fun, so just dress up and come and join us. And there will be a short introduction prior to the dancing and introduce, our other events that are coming up. But it should be a good time, so we really hope for a good turnout.
Did you say where?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's at Millbrook Marsh. Yes, Millbrook Marsh. Currently, we do have signs, message board signs out around the township announcing it. There are signs and there's a banner along Puddintown Road in front. And then on the day of, we'll have some extra signage to point to where folks can park. Good time, we're excited, I'm excited.
You said dress up?
Yeah, I mean, you know, cowboy hat, boots, just some things to, you know, your typical Pennsylvania hoedown garb, I guess you could call it. I'm not quite sure, but I don't know.
Gingham dresses? Gingham dresses?
Yes, exactly, yeah, I wear a dress, so. Should be fun.
Skirts.
All right. I think we're going to just close reports right now. If I haven't missed anything, and we're going to go to an update, anything we need to add from our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging report
Sure.
earlier this month?
Real quick, just wanted to highlight two things. One, you already took action on the resolution for Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. That's been something we've done over the last few years. We didn't have it on the first agenda, so we'll make sure we captured that on this one. The only other thing, and I wanted to thank Susan, she received a invite from a member of the Center County Pearls of Pennsylvania, which is a recognized interest through the North Atlantic region of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority to a upcoming Unity Walk, recognizing Earth Month and an opportunity to raise awareness around environmental justice and community collaboration for equity and peace. They're sponsoring a Unity Walk on Saturday, May 24th from 2:30 to 3:30. It's going to start at the Nittany Lion Shrine and work its way to the MLK Plaza in downtown State College. Invitation was sent out to each of you via email. It's also in your Dropbox. I just wanted to highlight that for your knowledge here tonight. That's all I have.
On that, I saw the original email. It wasn't clear if they were looking for a single representative from College Township or if it was an invite for,
The more the merrier.
okay.
The more the merrier. I did reply and said I was going to send it forward, and
Okay.
the more the merrier.
Okay.
And that's from 2:30 to 3:30 on the 24th, correct?
Yes, 2:30 to 3:30.
Okay.
So we don't really have to coordinate that. If you can go, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had asked for a response by the 19th from anyone that's intended on going. So the email is in the person's contact email is in the
Yep.
email.
So that's Monday. All right. This agenda item also offers the public an opportunity to address council on any DEIB issues. Anybody here tonight like to address council on a DEIB issue or online? If not, we will conclude reports. We've already done consent agenda. That takes us to old business, which we have 3 items that we're going to move through in lightning speed here. The first one is OB1, comp plan land use update, land use map.
This one didn't even get a memo, so that's how fast we're moving. So this is a continuation of a discussion that obviously came through general forum, and it ties back to the future land use map and honestly how you envision being engaged during the development of that future land use map. So they had a question here: where do you want to be involved as elected officials with the formation of the future land use map? Joint meeting with planning commission, separate meeting, rely on your Lucy representative or other, so.
Well, I provided my thoughts in exec session, and that's, I thought it came under the Lucy. And we didn't really need additional layers.
Correct.
Throw that out there for.
I agree.
I don't think we have enough meetings, so I really would like us to consider maybe all the above.
All right. You can tell we're moving into our 3rd hour here.
Yeah. See.
All right, Mike, is that the feedback you were looking for?
Yeah, I will relay that on to the planning staff, let them know that we would be relying on our Lucy representative.
And I don't think we really need to take action there. I think that's enough direction for tonight. However, OB2, if we're going to conclude OB1 and move to OB2, this is a potential action item. Solicitation ordinance update.
Sure, so this is a continuation of a discussion going back to your April 3rd meeting, when staff brought forward, in response to citizen request, a proposal to amend Chapter 171 of the College Township Code, specifically Article 1, solicitors and temporary businesses, to incorporate a no solicitation, also known as no-knock, list into that portion of the code. That proposed amendment was attached to the agenda item. No changes from what you saw in April. It's pretty simple change to the ordinance language. It would be a simple repeal replace to make that change. What we did want to bring back to you was some of the logistics around doing that, and then ultimately ask for council's feelings, and if you are so inclined, a motion to make that approval. Some of the logistics, we've talked through internally how to roll this out. If you are so inclined this evening, we would launch the registration starting the first Monday in June. That would be subject very similar to what Patton Township does. It would be an annual renewal basis. So you get on the first year, and then you would get a reminder at the end of that calendar year to renew, and that would continue on. That helps kind of purge out any property changes to make sure that folks have that ongoing ability to sign up. We would also notify all current and future solicitation permit holders of the no-knock list, informing them that it is the permit holder's responsibility to stay current with that list, and we would make sure that that is shared. We would also share the relevant exceptions and modify our existing solicitation permit to acknowledge that there is a no-knock list now out there that they need to be cognizant of. This is where someone smarter than me starts working on things. Shane has taken on utilizing a Survey 123 form that will be embedded into the College Township website as the primary means to collect information for anyone that wants to sign up for this list. We would need 3 pieces of information from them: their name, their street address, and an email. We would advertise the no-knock list publicly through the website primarily, so any solicitors holding a permit would have that and know which properties they need to avoid. The only thing that would be shared when we do that would be street address. The reason we need name and contact information is for that annual renewal purposes. We would develop a listserv and just remind people at the end of the year that, and if you want to remain on the list, you need to renew. Updating and public posting of the no-knock list would be completed on a weekly basis. So probably end of the week, we would pull down anyone that has signed up for it, update that list, and publish it onto the website so that it stays current. And again, that would be a reminder to those permit holders to be checking that list before they start their work in the coming weekend. With that, those are the kind of logistics that we saw that needed to be taken care of in terms of implementation. The requested action tonight is obviously if you had feedback to us on implementation steps or the proposed ordinance revisions, we'll be happy to take those. But barring any substantive revisions to the amendment or the implementation recommendations, our recommendation would be that you consider approval of the amendment to Chapter 171 of the Code, Article 1, solicitors and temporary businesses, to incorporate the no solicitation list with a list registration opening Monday, June 2nd.
All right, let's do this then. Since we have a motion in there, let's deal with any questions or concerns about the amendment or the start date. Because if there aren't any, we can put the motion on the floor and then we can talk about logistics. So, anybody have questions, concerns, like to see any changes to the amendment itself or the start date?
No.
Okay. then at this point, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the amendment with the start date of June 2nd, and then we can discuss logistics before we vote. Anybody feel the urge to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to Chapter 171 of the College Township Code, Article 1, Solicitors and Temporary Businesses, to incorporate an annual no solicitation, no knock list with list registration opening on Monday, June 2nd, 2025.
Have a second?
Second.
All right. Now, before we vote, any further discussion needed on the logistics?
No.
I was really impressed with the process that staff has laid out for this.
Absolutely.
The website will be the collector of the data, but we'll use other means to let people, to direct them to the website.
Sure,
Newsletter.
we would put it out there, obviously, that is where we think the bulk of the registrations will come. If folks aren't comfortable utilizing that, they can call in and we can add them to the list.
Okay. All right. Other suggestions or questions on the logistics?
No, I assume it'll be a future newsletter item, maybe a push notice.
Yeah, we would do our typical website, social media push, and you're exactly right, this would be newsletter worthy.
Right, right.
I think it's great.
Yeah. All right, if there isn't any need for any further discussion, the chair, all in favor of the motion to approve amendment to Chapter 172, the start date of Monday, June 2nd, as presented and seconded, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, staff, for bringing this to a tidy conclusion. And that takes us to our third and last old business item, development of regional impact for the Clearwater Conservancy site. We have a DRI, right?
We do. We have a DRI light, which feels like it's sticking, because the other day at our planners meeting, it was called, they said DRI light, because they were talking about another project, but it seems to be sticking, so that's great. One other thing too is this is the first time in the region that anyone's, moving forward with the light, so, I don't know if we're going to set any precedent tonight in how others in the region move forward through this process. But getting back to Clearwater, they submitted the development of regional impact, presented it to council back in February. Prior to that, though, the College Township Planning Commission and council reviewed the land development plan for the Conservation and Education Center. So the process flow chart included with your memo kind of goes through the process where Clearwater has prepared and submitted the DRI light report to the Center Regional Planning Agency. They deemed it complete. It came to our Planning Commission for their review. Their recommendations were that if the on-site well cannot meet fire suppression requirements, Clearwater must connect to the College Township Water Authority. Representative who is here tonight from Stahl Schaefer Engineering indicates that code has approved that there is enough pressure for fire suppression at the site. So that's one thing to check off there. And then the second thing the Planning Commission recommended was the DRI must be updated with information and comments from the University Area Joint Authority. Recently, I've received a letter from the UAJA indicating that they do have the capacity to serve, so we did get their intent to serve letter for that area. So moving on, now council, if you wish to add any findings of fact or anything additional you'd like to see, have that opportunity this evening. But, as we know, under the current agreement through the Regional Growth Boundary and Sewer Service Implementation Agreement, this is eligible to move forward without general forum approval, and they are asking for the 5 EDUs to expand, and which leaves us, plenty left to work with over the next 3 years now. The Planning Commission and Council both determined that the report has merit And once we did that, it went to the Center Regional Planning Commission. The Center Regional Planning Commission provided some feedback, which is also included in your packet. So the next step was to prepare a developer agreement that would be between Clearwater Conservancy and College Township. This agreement is just going to say, this is what we said we're gonna do. We're going to expand the regional growth boundary for just this use. And they're not going to say like, you know, build housing or something along those lines there. So that kind of covers everybody. We did prepare this developers agreement. Adam looked it over. We did present it to our solicitor, who was very pleased with the agreement and didn't have many comments. So in front of you, you do have the DRI report updated in March. You have the memo, the process, and the developer's agreement. I just, if council's ready this evening and you don't have any major input that we would have to go back and change the agreement, we're looking for a recommendation tonight to approve the DRI and the developer agreement so Clearwater can move forward with their project.
And who executes that agreement, Lindsay?
That would be an agreement between College Township and Clearwater Conservancy.
And that's what Lewis has reviewed.
Yes, Lewis has reviewed this, yes, said it's good to go.
Okay. It seems like we're the first ones to go down this path, right?
Yes, we are.
It seems like there ought to be something else we have to do, but there isn't, right? We've done everything, we've followed the flow chart, right? And we're at the end.
We are, yeah. Took a little while, but we're here.
All right. Questions for Lindsay? Comments?
Just one, did you
Comfort
say
level?
5 EDUs or 5 acres? I'm just curious, it's,
Oh.
I didn't see it in the development.
Six acres.
Thank you,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Right. No further questions.
And the EDUs is what we're capped at, right, not the acreage, or both?
Yeah, both.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
cap for each.
So 12 acres and 50 EDUs.
Yes,
Yep.
thank you, yes.
Right, thank you.
Rich?
Just looking at the Center Region Planning Commission, I'm not picking up any real comments on there other than ensure minimal impacts to adjacent and nearby residential users. I mean, that's, we would do that one. Am I missing something?
Not from CRPC, no.
Okay.
They, we did get an email a few weeks back that was in the consent agenda that was, you know, concerns about traffic in the area from one resident. So council did see that a few weeks back.
And then I'm just curious, whose flow chart is it? The planning agency?
Yeah, a
That's
few
nice.
years back, Mark Bopel and I worked to put that together for a few projects.
It's very helpful. I think we should get the DRI light across the top. And then where did the draft developer agreement come from? From Clearwater or from
No, staff prepared that.
our staff?
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. That's all I had to share.
Tracy? All right, there appears to be general comfort with everything that's been prepared, both the agreement and the DRI. We are approving or accepting the DRI in any action that we take,
You would be approving it this evening.
okay? And authorizing staff to execute an agreement with the developer.
Yes, and I'm seeing now that I don't have a recommended motion in your
Yeah,
memo.
that's what I was, but that's it.
Yes,
So at this point, if there are no further questions and everyone's comfortable with what's been presented, the chair will entertain a motion.
Well, I think you were on a path like a who. Is this a manager or a chair?
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Right, and it doesn't, and the draft doesn't really indicate that. I wonder if staff has any recommendation.
I have to look to Lindsay, I haven't been that closely involved on this one.
well, typically, I mean, with ordinances, I know it's not an ordinance, it's an agreement, but
Right.
we usually do see the chairman and the manager or secretary both sign, so we can definitely add another line in the agreement for those two signatures, if that's the most comfortable way moving forward.
I'm, is it, I was gonna say, I'm comfortable with the chair. The chair represents all of us, but,
And
I
it's
just think,
consistent.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So when we're authorizing who to execute it, I think it's beneficial to know.
Authorizing
The chair.
chair to
Okay.
execute, okay.
All right.
So at this point, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the DRI as presented tonight and authorize the chair to execute the agreement with the developer as presented in the packet and reviewed by our solicitor. Anybody want to make that motion or just say they're? Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? By the way, thank you, Lindsay, for shepherding us through our first DRI Light exercise. And I agree with Rich. If it's your flow chart, DRI Light needs to be on the top somewhere.
We'll get that fixed.
All
But
right.
thank you, and, we'll probably be seeing a few more of these. Now we have one under our belt, so that's great.
We have a motion before council before we take the action, I need to open the floor for comments, questions, concerns from anyone in the room. Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Our very first DRI Light is complete.
Thank you.
And it wasn't quite lightning speed, but we did move through those three items pretty quick. That leaves us with our one new business item, slab cabin master plan grant. I see Amy's name next to this. She's been patiently waiting to jump into this.
I've been waiting all night. I'll try to make this quick. In the same vein that we took on a master plan for Spring Creek Park, Parks and Rec did recommend that we go budget for a master plan for Slab Cabin Park in 2026. Actually, Mike is the one who came across the new fund, well, I shouldn't say new, but the Greenways Trails and Recreation Program grant. And it's basically it comes from the Marcellus Legacy Fund for purposes of planning, acquisition, development, rehabilitation, and repair of greenways, trails, open spaces, parks, and community beautification projects. So it's right in line with what we are planning to do. It does require a 15% match by the township as opposed to the 50% that's required by the DCNR, the C2P2 program. That is what we got for Spring Creek. So we would envision that we would use a consultant in the same manner as them. But if we get the grant, then we'll follow all the rules and regs of that. But I anticipate it'll be very similar, where we will solicit for a proposal for a design professional to help take us through the whole master plan process and follow up that way. But to do that, we do need council to consider approving the resolution that indicates the township's intent to apply and designating the township manager with signing authority, and then also to basically commit the $9,000 at minimum as a local match in the 2026 budget.
9,000 represents what we anticipate to be the 50.
Yeah, we're anticipating the plan to be a $60,000 endeavor, so our match would be the 9,000.
So kudos to the assistant manager for finding that
Yeah.
15%
Yeah, it's like,
match grant.
is that like award winning or something? No, not yet? Okay.
I'm not even in that category.
Okay.
Maybe.
All right, questions for Amy? Anybody? I think it's a great idea.
Why not, right?
Yeah. Do we know when to anticipate a decision and a potential award of the grant?
With these, it's a little different category than we've used in the past. It's going to be a mad scramble because the grant's due at the end of the month. But I would anticipate a grant award announcement probably early next year.
Okay. All right. Who feels like making a motion here?
I'll try it.
All right, Tracy.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move to motion that staff request the council to authorize staff to pursue a GTRP grant application by approving the following items. Resolution R-25-12, inclusion of 9,000 minimum local match in the 2026 operating budget.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion needed here? Everybody's clear what we're moving towards? All right, anybody in the audience like to address council before we take action? If not, then all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Staff is duly authorized
Okay,
to
thank you.
pursue the grant that only requires a 15%.
Yeah.
Local match. That concludes new business, takes us to staff informatives. There are two in our packet tonight. Anything to add beyond what's in there from staff? If not, then let's move to other matters. I have one. Does anybody else have anything? Mine's real quick. It sounds like we have two potential council members willing and able to attend PML in October. Did I read those emails correctly? Okay. Dustin and Tracy so far.
But I said if only one can go, I would render to Dustin because it's
Well,
last year.
that's one of the reasons I brought it up. Traditionally, we've sent one mostly because we only had one person interested and available, and that was Rich. Are you also a voting delegate for that, or is there?
Yeah, historically, I have been, yeah.
Okay, so.
I think last year Dustin was going to go, but then couldn't go. Actually, Dustin was going to go, was going to be the voting delegate, couldn't go. I still wanted to go, and then I just filled the.
So, I mean, there's more to it than just voting.
Yeah.
It's like PSATs.
Yeah.
So
Not quite as robust in the seminars and all that kind of stuff, but yes.
And we are a member, we are a dues paying member.
Yes.
So there's nothing necessarily precluding us from sending more than one.
Correct.
Okay. So I think as we get closer to the deadline for registration and accommodations, we'll figure it out. But it sounds like we're going to have at least one, possibly two folks attending. Okay. Anything else under other matters? Staff, council?
Well, I do want to clear up something like from one of the meetings where we're talking about the signs for Lamont. I just want to put on record, I did not mean to imply that I don't see a necessity for doing so. I think that was the kind of takeaway that some people took. I totally am in agreement. I love what they do there. And I just want to clarify that. I just didn't see it as necessary for this budget year. So I just wanted to clarify that and make sure the records state that. Thank you.
Duly clarified. Record amended. All right, anything else under other matters? If not, we will move to adjournment. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved, and I heard a second over there. We are adjourned.
Yeah.
Second.